Hey folks, Lindsay here. I'm going to do my top 5 books that I read this past year. 2016 was a pretty decent reading year for me. I don't think I've ever read as many books. I got through, I started 222 and I did not finish 17 of them. Also, when I say read, I mean listen to. I think 99.9% of the books that I have read this past year were audiobooks. But here we go. Number 1, A Dog's Purpose. If you are a pet owner, I highly suggest it, especially a dog owner. But it's an interesting way to think about your pets and their meaning in your life. Side note, I did cry almost the entire book. It's really happy and good, but it's also kind of sad. So there's that. Locally Laid. Here's the full title. Locally Laid, How We Built a Plucky Industry-Changing Egg Farm. This is all about Lucy Amundsen and her family's journey into becoming mid-sized egg farmers. You should read it because it's hilarious. It is so funny. It's basically her husband who's driving this whole thing forward about wanting to get into the egg farming business, and she is not happy about things in the beginning. I actually listened to it all the way through, and I thought it was so good and so funny that I actually had Marissa listen to it during one of our trips. So, number 3, Ultramarathon Man. This is a crazy, interesting book about how people, or this one person in particular, Dean, pushes his body to the limits while running. He's an ultramarathon runner, and if you are into running or exercise or anything like that at all, you should read this book. He's run in the Arctic, he's run in deserts, and he does like ultramarathons, so it's not just the marathon, but it's 100 miles plus. And he also sometimes runs a marathon to get to a marathon, to go run the marathon, and then run another marathon home. It's really interesting reading about how he got into it, and then also just what he can have his body do. It's really amazing. Number 4, Outcasts, The Brother Band Chronicles. It's a series of 6 books, and they're really good. I enjoyed the story. It's basically about, I think, How to Train Your Dragon, like that kind of village where it's kind of a warring type culture. The first book starts out with all the kids going through training, and so you pick your teams, and basically the people who didn't get picked for a team or are the outcasts form their own team, and it's about how they kind of come together. So that's the first book, and then the rest of the series is about that particular group, a group of outcasts and their adventures that they have. And number 5, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. She was a black woman in the 40s/50s, and doctors took her cells. She died of cancer, but they took like scrapings of her cells, and the cells stayed viable and are still being used for medical research, unbeknownst to her. So she died, and her family had no idea that any of this had happened, and that she is still continuing to be used in experiments, or her cells are, I guess. If you've heard of HeLa cells, that's Henrietta Lacks. The book was a really hard read to get through. It's like a heavy content, but you should at least read the Wikipedia page about Henrietta Lacks, because that was crazy, not okay what happened to her. So you should just at least know the name. So those are my top 5. I don't usually do booktube, so this was a little strange trying to give a purpose of why I really enjoy the books. But hopefully you found it useful. If you read them, any of these books, or if you have read them, let me know. But I do enjoy reading, and I've gotten through a lot of these books because I stopped listening to as many podcasts. That is all for now. Support your local library, and have a good day. Bye.